Hello again, everyone. This is Dr. Corey talking about the L.I.V.E acronym and what it means. Today we're going to talk about the V in the L.I.V.E acronym. V stands for vitality. What is vitality? Vitality is from the same Latin root as vitamin, vita, which means life. A great part of wellness or vitality comes from the quality of our internal and external chemical environments. This includes the status of vitamins, minerals, other macronutrients, how much we take in, and not only how much we take in, but how much we absorb and detoxify. It also relates to our exposure to toxins and allergens. Now, what problems are facing our vitality? Let's look at a couple of statistics here. American Heart Association did a study and said that the average person consumes 21 teaspoons of added sugars a day. That's an astronomical number. So imagine you're sitting down at breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day of the year, shoveling in 7 teaspoons of sugar at each meal. Now, you wouldn't do that with a sugar bowl there, but you do it without thinking about it in the food and the drinks that you can consume. And that is poison to the body in that amount. The Cushy Institute, they analyzed nutrients in foods from 1975 to 97. And you can see the numbers here. Average calcium levels in 12 fresh vegetables dropped 27%, iron 37%, vitamin A 21%, vitamin C 30%. Now that was in 97. Now we're another many years later and it's dropped even more. Every year those foods are grown on the same soils. They get replenished with nitrogen and a couple other fertilizers, but most of the essential nutrients are not added back in, and we're losing more and more. A similar study done in the British Food Journal from 1930 to 1980 showed calcium content 19% drop, iron 22% drop, potassium 14%. Another study concluded that you'd have to eat 8 oranges today to get the same amount of vitamin A as our grandparents would have gotten from 1 orange. All right, let's talk about toxicity. This has to do with supporting your body's own ability to remove toxins from your cells. Now, every day we're exposed to commercials and brochures about prescription medications. You hear it on TV, you hear it on the radio, you see it in the magazines, big slick things presenting the great benefits of the medications. Medications save lives, don't get me wrong. But when you look at these ads, the small script showing the side effects is a lot of times larger than the large script in terms of size. And those side effects are real, and they happen to everybody. Not all of them, but some of the side effects happen to everybody. And these are problems for your body. If you choose to ignore the toxins we're putting into our cells and you continue to follow the status quo, it'll be impossible to avoid the diseases that are coming. I think some statistics show that 1/3 of all people in America will have diabetes by the year 2050 unless something changes. And it's not only due to sugar, it's due to other foods we eat, it's also due to the toxins in our environment affect our cells' ability to metabolize sugar. The reality of toxicity is a very tangible danger. So where are we exposed to toxins? Household cleaning products, carcinogens from cigarettes, from industry, coal-fired power plants putting smoke into the environment all over the world. That puts tons of mercury, cadmium, and lead into our environment. Those metals rain out of the sky. They get into our water sources, they get into our food, they get into fish, they get into the oceans, they get everywhere, and they get into our bodies. Everybody has them. I've been doing hair analysis on people for many years. I have not had a single person that has not had some level of a toxic metal. Toxins wreak havoc on our bodies and they cause disease and suffering. Even when you eat organically and you take extra effort to do that, there are still toxins we're exposed to that we can't avoid. So, we need to minimize exposure to toxins as well as we can. We also need to try to detoxify what's already there. Symptoms such as headaches, weight gain, nausea, and depression, oftentimes these are related to toxins. Your detoxification systems in your body is your best defense against this arsenal of toxins in our environment. Let's look at some studies here. This study shows amount of mercury in different types of fish. You see here on the left tilefish, which is in red, and then on the right grouper, orange rocky, can tuna are in there. The FDA said that tilefish is on the do not eat list for pregnant women. But they didn't say anything about tuna. But the reality, tuna has more mercury in it than tilefish. This study here shows if you eat 6 ounces of canned albacore each week, a woman of average size would exceed her safe dose of mercury by 30%. And how many of you out there are eating fish like that? Because it's touted, fish is good food. Well, it is good food. When it's toxic, it's also bad food. So, how do we test our vitality? We can assess it with muscle testing. We can get feedback on how your organs are doing with toxins. We also use a lot of functional medicine laboratory testing in our office. Let's look at some of those. Here's a sample of what's called an IgG4 food allergy test. Now, many of you have been to the allergist to check for allergies. They'll do a skin scratch test. They'll scratch your back or your arm looking for reactions. That particular test checks for what's called an IgE food allergy, which is an immediate allergy response. Most allergies that cause symptoms in the body that are deep, that you won't think of as being allergy caused, will not be identified by that test. This allergy test here, the IgG4, we can do it with a serum sample in our office. We have test kits where you can take home a kit, you can prick your finger, and it can check 30 different foods for this kind of allergy response. These cause chronic problems. This sample right here, you can see there's severe toxicity or allergy response to almonds, cashews, pistachios. And I'll tell you right now, this is me. This was me about 2 years ago. I was having some gut problems. I did this testing, I identified these foods, I avoided them, no symptoms. It causes a huge, it's a huge player in our health. This one shows an organics urine nutrient analysis. This is a test derived from urine that measures byproducts of metabolic processes in the body. It gives you an idea of how your organs are working. If you look here, this marker shows in the pink, this one shows in the pink, the indole acetate and the guanosine. These are both toxins produced by bacteria in the intestines that cause symptoms in the body. They're very toxic, they cause oxidation, they can cause diseases. So, this shows you need to address bacteria in the gut and to improve your health. So this is another way of checking toxicity. Also, monitoring organ function beyond toxicity. This test is a stool test called the GI effect stool analysis. This company uses RNA and DNA examination of the stool to actually identify parasites. You'll see in this case, this person showed a high level of yeast and 2 kinds of parasites present in the body. This person had a lot of symptoms. So this test can tell you where the problem is and what it is, and it's up to us as doctors to figure out how we're going to address it, how we're going to get rid of these things. But it makes a big difference to get infections out of your body because they produce toxicity in the body as well, and the infections themselves, bacteria, parasites, they actually consume nutrients that your body needs, and it takes a lot of your energy and vitality to do that. They also destroy the lining of your gut, which creates more food allergies. This slide shows an example of what we do when you bring in lab work that either we have ordered or that you've had that done before at your other doctors. Most doctors, they do a lot of lab work, they're very busy. They look at the numbers that the lab gives them, and the lab will tell them this one and this one is high and this one is low, and they'll focus on 1 or 2 things. And that's good for getting immediate health problems under control. But to get a greater picture of what's going on in your body, we take the same numbers they look at, we put it down to a tighter norm. Lab values are drawn from a large population that is sick. But if you take a well population and look at lab values, the normal values are in a much tighter range. And when we fall out of that tighter range of normal lab values, we can identify lots of problems in the body that will be missed. This analysis is stuff that would have been missed on a normal exam, but it shows evidence of dehydration, probable internal bleeding, B12 folic acid deficiencies, low grade of some form of chronic infection present, a deficiency of white blood cells, which means a protein problem of intake and also chronic infection. So you can see you can learn a lot of things about the body by looking at blood work with a tighter analysis. Here's another kind of lab. This is called an adrenal stress index. This is derived from measuring hormones in the saliva, which is a very accurate indicator of the active hormone levels in your body, what they call the bioactive forms. This adrenal stress index measures cortisol and DHEA. Those are the biggest markers in your body of cortisone, which is your the biggest contributor to your sense of vitality and well-being. And if you can see in this example with the X's, they're all a little bit low, although they're in the right rhythm. This person is going to be fatigued, and this is one of the reasons for it, is their adrenal glands are low, and we can measure that accurately in saliva. So we've talked about ways of measuring and some things that are affecting our body. What do we do about it? Well, We identify the toxins, and we identify ways to get rid of them. We can get rid of them using nutrients to enhance detoxification for the liver, enhance detoxification from the skin, the bowels, and the kidney. We also do other methods of detoxification: sweating, exercise, infrared sauna that we have in our office. We have a ionic foot bath in our office that helps with detoxification. Also, vitality has to do with replenishing nutrients that are deficient. And in our office we have a complete supply of all the nutrients you could need, homeopathic remedies, herbs, and other detoxifying compounds. As we wrap up here, let me give you an example of a patient that we addressed. This patient came in relatively healthy, chronic fatigue, however, and chronic sinus problems. Never would go away. In testing them, we did stool tests. We identified that they had both a parasite and fungal overgrowth in the intestines. When you think about it, the sinuses are the top end of the digestive tube. The intestines represent the bottom end of the digestive tube. Very often, what's happening on one end of the digestive tube is happening on the other end. Once we identified the fungal overgrowth and the parasite overgrowth, we addressed that with herbs to kill off the parasites and to lower the fungal burden. And we identified foods that triggered fungal growth. Once we did that, got the offending foods out of the diet, detoxified them, and got the parasites and fungus under control, the gut cleared up, the energy came back, and the sinus was cleared up at the same time. So, I want to thank you for listening again today. Thank you for coming by. And remember, if you have any problems that you don't understand, that have been with you for a long time, come to Premier Wellness. Let us use our L.I.V.E program with you and figure it out.